Welcome to the new Outside Views Global format and welcome to the daily views on September 7th in 2021. Today, in the first one, we start with Perth in Australia. The Australian state of Western Australia with the metropolis of Perth is not expected to reopen its borders to the rest of the country, which have been closed due to the corona pandemic until next year. Regional Prime Minister Marc said on Monday that people from regions with particularly high numbers of infections such as New South Wales, Victoria and Australian Capital Territory will only be able to return to the state when 80 to 90% of the population has been vaccinated. I expect we will reopen as soon as we get a very high level of vaccination, said McGowan, and I expect that will be the case sometime next year. Since the beginning of the pandemic, the inner Australian borders have repeatedly been closed at short notice in the event of corona outbreaks. With a few exceptions, the international borders have been tight since March 2020. Australia, with its 25 million inhabitants, has long been successful in the fight against the virus thanks to strict rules and its isolated island location. Experts blame the Delta variant and the slow-moving vaccination campaign for the numbers that have been increasing in some regions for weeks. The government of New South Wales, with the metropolis of Sydney, admitted last week that the zero-COVID strategy, which Australia had long pursued, had failed. It is impossible to eliminate the Delta variant, said Regional Prime Minister Gladys Berejiklian. And now, let's go to San Salvador in El Salvador. In El Salvador, the digital currency Bitcoin will be legal tender from today. The Central American state is the first country in the world to take this step. A corresponding law was passed 3 months ago and will now come into force today. It stipulates that every merchant who is technically capable of doing so must accept Bitcoin as a means of payment. Taxes can also be paid in the cryptocurrency. No capital gains tax should be levied on the exchange of Bitcoin. The exchange rate to the US dollar, which is used in El Salvador as an official means of payment instead of a local currency, is to be decided freely by the market. According to President Nayib Bukele, anyone who downloads the Chivo digital wallet receives a starting credit worth $30, and there should also be 200 Chivo ATMs. Bitcoin is the most popular digital currency. It is not controlled by a central bank, but creates a decentralized and extremely energy-intensive computer process. The cryptocurrency is considered an object of speculation and is subject to violent price fluctuations. The US dollar has been used as a means of payment in El Salvador since 2001. This makes the country dependent on the monetary policy of the US Federal Reserve. For the nation's economic growth, it's necessary to allow the circulation of a digital currency, the value of which depends solely on market economy criteria, says the text of the law. In addition, around 70% of the roughly 6 million residents of El Salvador have no access to traditional financial services. Many rely on their loved ones to send money from the United States. According to a nationwide survey by the Universidad Centroamericana, the UCA, with almost 1,300 participants in August, around 70% of Salvadorians reject the Bitcoin law. About the same number, therefore, had imprecise ideas about Bitcoin. Only 4.8% of those surveyed correctly defined it as a cryptocurrency. And now, let's go to London in the UK. After a census of harbour seals and grey seals in the Thames, scientists have shown themselves satisfied with the state of the British River. The thriving population shows how well the Thames has recovered since it was declared biologically dead in the 1950s, biologist Thea Cox told the PA news agency. And people think the Thames is dead because it's brown, but the Thames is full of life. The water quality has improved a lot. The river is more than 300 kilometers long and connects, among other things, London with the North Sea. Members of the Zoological Society of London estimated the population at 2,866 grey seals and 797 common seals. That is a good 500 animals less than in the previous count in 2019. However, according to the experts, the decline is no evidence of problems. For example, more animals could have been in the sea during the 3-day census than the previous time, and some could have migrated, said Cox. The long-term picture is decisive, she said. For marine biologists, mammals are an important indicator of the health of the largest river in southern England. Stable numbers indicate good water quality and enough fish. Although the animals are protected, they face numerous dangers such as rubbish, old fishing nets and ships. Curious passers-by, stray dogs as well as kayak and canoeists pose a threat, especially for young animals. In 2002, an outbreak of the distemper virus hit the population hard as well. And now let's go to Frankfurt am Main in Germany. The euro started the new trading week a little weaker on Monday, and in the morning the common currency cost US dollar 1.870, a little less than on Friday evening. The European Central Bank, the ECB, set the reference rate on Friday afternoon at 1.1872. At the beginning of the week, the focus is on order data from German industry. The Federal Statistical Office announces figures for July, and in addition, the consulting firm Centix publishes its monthly economic barometer, which is determined among private and professional investors. Due to its early release in the reporting month, it is considered a forerunner for other sentiment data such as the ZEW economic expectations. And now quickly go back to the UK, but this time to Cardiff in Wales. With comments on reports on Russia in Western media, pro-Russian internet trolls try, according to a study, to pretend alleged approval of the Kremlin policy in the West. Since the start of the investigation in April, they have published pro-Kremlin and anti-Western statements on nearly 250 articles from a dozen countries, according to experts from Cardiff University. The reactions would in turn be used in Russian state media as evidence of the alleged approval in the West for the policies of the Kremlin, according to the study. Yeah, I know this trolls from my comments. British Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab suspects government support behind the campaign. This report emphasizes the threat to our democracy from misinformation on the internet supported by the Russian state, said Raab. In Great Britain, articles in the newspapers Daily Mail, Daily Express and the Times were affected. I'm not surprised by the Express, by the way. The reports of the state of media, in turn, would then be shared via social media and websites that are known for disseminating disinformation and propaganda, and some have connections to Russian secret services. And Foreign Minister Raab emphasized the UK is working closely with its international allies to confront the Kremlin trolls who are spreading lies. And now, let's go to Rome in Italy. The health ministers of the 20 most important industrialized and emerging countries, the G20, want to campaign for more fairness in the distribution of corona vaccines worldwide. Italy's Minister of Health, Roberto Speranza, said in Rome on Sunday evening that the conditions were in place to agree a Pact of Rome. A mandatory point of the agreement is to create conditions under which there is a right of everyone to vaccinations and they are not the privilege of a few. There is a very large imbalance, said Speranza. The richest countries now have a high vaccination rate, other countries lag behind. Italy currently holds the G20 presidency. According to German Health Minister Jens Spahn, Germany wants to make 100 million vaccine doses available in the international corona vaccination campaign by the end of the year. That is as much as we have so far reviled in our country, said the Christian Democratic politician on the sidelines of the meeting. The goal is to have vaccinated at least 40% of the world's population by the end of the year. The pandemic will not be over until it's over all over the world. Otherwise, variants could arise that would then also reach Europe and my Germany where I live and lead to problems. Meanwhile, Russia called on the G20 states to recognize each other's digital corona vaccination passports. It's important to develop common concepts for cross-border travel for vaccinated people, said Health Minister Michael Murashku, according to his ministry. To this end, it is important to consider mutual recognition of vaccination, he said. The focus of the two-day G20 meeting of health ministers is the corona pandemic. A joint statement will come at the end of the conference. I don't have it when I'm filming this right now. The ministers want to advise on further steps in the pandemic and talk about ways to make scientific knowledge more accessible in the world. The aim is a strong message of cooperation, solidarity and justice, with a conviction that nobody will be left behind, said the organizers in Italy. In addition, advice should be given on how a future pandemic can be prevented, or you can better prepare for it. Spahn and Speranza emphasized how important vaccination is now for development in the coming months. Now in September, we will decide in Germany and Europe how safely we can get through autumn and winter, said Spahn. In order to get through the next few months safely, another 5 million vaccinations and more are needed in Germany, for example. And now let's go to Singapore. Oil prices have given way at the beginning of the new trading week. On Monday morning, a barrel, that's 159 liters of North Sea Brent, cost $71.76. That was 85 cents less than on Friday. The price of a barrel of American West Texas Intermediate fell 78 cents to $68.51. Several reasons for the falling oil prices have been given in the market. On the one hand, reference was made to the stronger US dollar, which made the commodity, which is traded internationally in the US currency, more expensive for many interested parties and thus weighed on demand. In addition, there were weak numbers from the American labor market. The US government's job report on Friday was much weaker than analysts had expected. This raised doubts about the robustness of the economy. Market participants also cited price reductions by the oil giant Saudi Arabia for Asian customers as a reason for the burden. The move sends a negative price signal and increases the existing skepticism about the expected oil demand. The reason for the uncertainty is the rapid spread of the Corona Delta variant and possible breaking effects on the global economy. And now let's go to Conakry in Guinea. That's in Africa. The international criticism of the alleged coup attempt in West African Guinea is getting louder. After UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres had condemned every takeover of governments by force of arms, the European Union, the African Union, the former colonial power France and Great Britain also publicly expressed criticism. The exact background and circumstances of the turbulent events on Sunday were not yet unequivocally clarified on Monday night. According to the British Embassy in Conakry, there had been ongoing exchanges of fire in several locations in the capital over the course of Sunday. Non-verifiable videos initially circulated on social media, suggesting that President Alpha Condé had been overthrown. A video with a state broadcaster's logo featured several men in military uniforms and with a national flag, one of whom claimed the government had been deposed. He also said the constitution has been repealed and the country's borders are closed. In another video, Condé himself was seen with men in military uniform. The whereabouts of the 83-year-old president was initially unclear. The French-language broadcaster TV5 Monde and other media reported that the Ministry of Defense of Guinea said on Sunday that insurgents had been repulsed by the Presidential Guard and other security forces. An eyewitness told the German press agency that the situation was very tense. There were firefights, especially near the presidential palace in the Kowloon district. The military is said to be patrolling to the streets of Conakry. In another video published late in the evening, men dressed in military uniforms announced that a curfew should apply from 8 p.m. local time, that's midnight in CET, and the government ministers had been ordered by the putschists to report on Monday morning, 11 a.m. local time, the video said. UN Secretary General Guterres called on Twitter on Sunday evening for the president to be released immediately. British Ambassador David McIlroy and EU Foreign Representative Josep Borrell made similar views. Borrell appealed to everyone to act according to the rule of law for the sake of peace and for the good of the Guinean people. The former colonial power France also condemned the attempt to take power by force and demanded a return to constitutional order and the immediate and unconditional release of Condé. According to media reports, the rebels are led by Mamadi Doumbouya, the commander of a special unit. In another unverified video, he named, among other things, the instrumentalization of the judiciary, looting of state revenue, and corruption in Guinea as reasons for the removal of Condé. Videos circulated on social media in which residents of Conakry cheer and applaud the patrolling soldiers. President Condé came to power in 2010 in the first free democratic election since Guinea's independence in 1958. Reforms in the economy and in the military are ascribed to him, and after politically turbulent decades, he also ensured more stability. Critics, however, see Condé as an increasingly authoritarian ruler whose term of office was marked by human rights violations. Last year, he secured a third term in office after a controversial constitutional amendment. The vote was preceded by months of political tension and violent protests. This Monday, a qualifying game between Morocco and Guinea for the 2022 World Cup should have taken place in Conakry. Due to the very volatile political and security situation, the game had been postponed. FIFA announced that on Sunday evening. And that was one quick overview on our planet. I'm trying this, and tonight at 6 p.m. another new format on this channel, because I think only one news a day is not giving you enough. So I'm trying to find a mixture of things that might be interesting for you and you might not be looking for on your usual channels. And so it's a little experiment for this channel, and I hope you like it. If you like it, let me know. If you don't like it, yeah, I will know, I know. I'll see you in my next video. Bis gleich.